Welcome to the first episode of Aaron's Brownies. I'm Aaron Brown, and this video series is going to be basically me expressing my concerns, my thoughts, anything like that on the video game scene, movie scene, basically anything entertainment. I'll be talking about it right here every week. So let's go ahead and get started. So the new consoles have been announced. We have the Sony PlayStation 4 and we have the Xbox One, which really still feels to me like a last-minute name decision. But both conferences were entirely different, and it seemed like they were kind of focused on entirely different groups of people. The PlayStation press conference, it didn't show the console, which really, me personally, I don't care what the console looks like. As long as it functions and it plays the games and does everything else I come to expect, I don't really care. They showed off the controller. That was a big deal because they did have some changes to it. So that was nice. They showed off the things that actually mattered. Then they also spent, about the first half hour or so talking about the console and like what they've done differently. But then they actually showed games. And the games that they showed off, some of them were impressive. Some of them were, that borderline where we haven't quite shown off what the new console can do. But there was a few of them where I still actually referenced deep down the Capcom's new game as a reference point for what the next-gen graphics will be like during actual gameplay. Microsoft took a completely different approach. Microsoft spent the entire conference talking about the console, talking about the Kinect, then showing off, oh, look, you can watch live TV, or, oh, look at our new deal with ESPN. You can play your fantasy football as the game is going on, get brand new stats. So, really, Microsoft has led this console generation. They've been leaps and bounds. They've been nothing but respected by the gaming community. And it's like they completely forgot who their audience was, who they were talking to. Whereas Sony with the PlayStation 4, they're making up for all the missteps that they had with the PlayStation 3. They're going back and actually making the console more about the games. Showing off the connectivity between their PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation Vita, actually making them relevant to each other, something that the PSP completely missed. But with the Xbox, it's still one of those things where it's really hard to say who's actually the leader in the new console wars, as everyone loves to point out, because Microsoft really didn't show off any games. They showed a total of 4 games, all pre-rendered. No actual gameplay. Sony showed off a bit of gameplay, but none that was so technically impressive. I haven't really been sold on either console one over the other, but it is one of those things where Sony does kind of lead more, at least as far as what the gaming community is involved. That also brings up the fact of each individual developer's stance on used games. Sony has been very strategically mum about their used game policy. They say they understand the need for used games. They say that there is going to be a policy in place for used games. And they hear the gaming community. Microsoft, on the other hand, it's like one head doesn't know what the other one is doing. You get reports from one side, then you get reports from the other side, and it's just all very, very mismanaged and mishandled, especially leading up to the E3 conference in which they're supposed to show off all their games. It's just very, very poor anticipation. Because now it's one of those things where, because they've talked about how they're going to block used games, or how there's going to be a fee if you want to bring your game over to a friend's house or let them borrow it, that they're still going to have to pay a fee in order to play the game on your console. That to me just completely takes away from what makes the gaming community. There's just so much that needs to be cleared up before E3 or during E3. Really, a lot of this should have been cleared up in the first place, because E3 should be all about the games. Microsoft's, their unveiling of the Xbox One, they did do the strategic thing in showing off all the features of the Xbox and waiting until E3 to show off the games, but in doing that, they completely polarized the gaming community. All of this leading up to E3, we really don't know what's going to happen until it's actually here. Sony could take that one substantial leap again that we've been expecting just from what they've shown. Microsoft could actually come back and regain some of the momentum that they've had with the Xbox 360. But we won't know until June 10th comes around.
That's a good brownie.
Be sure to click subscribe and leave any comments or questions below, and we'll see you next time.